Welcome to the right-hand menu. You can automate your target audience engagement scenarios with our ready-to-use workflows. The automated messages you want to deliver to your audience can be made interactive with the help of multimedia content. Content like images, photos, videos, call-to-action buttons, etc. In this video, we're going to show you how to create interactive chat conversations with multimedia content. Check out the description for links to videos on how to get started, how to map your digital channels like Facebook business page, Twitter handle, Instagram account, or even your website's chat functionality, so that you can exploit automation to implement funnel management, sale enablement, customer registration, or even execute post-sale operations like customer support or capture CSAT and NPS with automated feedback surveys. Let's get started. The first step is to select the workflow. In the Workflow tab, you select the keyword. The keyword is inquiry in this case. Sign in to the Google account that you have mapped with your right-hand menu account. Now in step 3, 4 and 5, select the folders under which the workflow template sheet mapped to the keyword inquiry is located. In step 6, select the workflow template sheet. You would have already customized and synchronized this sheet, like we showed you in our previous video about going live in less than 30 minutes. Now click the Load Workflow Steps button. After loading the workflow steps from the selected template sheet, you'll find all the dialogues listed in step 7. Select the first question or dialogue that will be posted to your audience, as part of the workflow that automates lead funnel management. Let's try and create some multimedia content to go along with this dialogue posted to the audience. First, we create a master docket for the multimedia content. A master docket defines what kind of media content will be displayed along with the dialogue. The media content can be a list of images. It can also be a single media card containing an image or a video. There can also be a set of simple call-to-action buttons. These buttons can be presented with, or without, any image or video to go with. You can decide what kind of media content is needed, based on the dialogue, and its response options, that the audience can choose from. Let's look at the selected dialogue. It goes like, Demo Store is a one-stop shop. It has 4 products to choose from, along with an option to show more products. This would be a perfect case for a media docket that shows a list of product images, one for each option. After selecting the dialogue in step 7, which is the first question, and clicking the Load Multimedia button, you can create the multimedia docket or the master data in step 8. Select Template as the attachment type, and select Generic Template, Carousel of Scrollable Images, as the template type. When you create this docket, you can create 4 multimedia cards or payloads, one for each product option. When it's created, the audience will see a scrollable carousel of product images. So go ahead and save the master data. In the next step, we'll create multimedia cards or payloads for each of these product options. Let's create a media payload for the first product option in the selected dialog. In the Multimedia Master Data section in step 8, click on Load Multimedia Payload button. Now, in step 9, we are going to create the payloads. We are going to provide a title, subtitle, link to the image, etc. for the first choice, which is Scepter 360. Also notice the value for the field called Display Order. This will define the order in which the payloads are displayed. Go ahead and save the payload details. Now, let's check out how it shows up on the chat window. Go to the Facebook page that is mapped to your right-hand menu account, and go to the dialog we are updating with multimedia content. Type a message that does not match with any of the answer choices. This will make the dialog get posted again. Now, you can see the multimedia card. We need to create more payloads to complete the content of the scrollable carousel. So let's create a payload for the second product option. Like we did earlier, we are going to provide a title, subtitle, a link to the image, etc. for the second choice as well, which is Triumph Trolley. Go ahead and create payloads for the third and the fourth product option too. We now have a neat, scrollable carousel of product images. Now, let's look at payload buttons. These are call-to-action buttons that can make the conversation quite interactive while also helping you to qualify a lead or convert a sale. There are Postback buttons and Web URL buttons. Postbacks are used to send a pre-configured value back to the chat servers. If the correct values are configured, these buttons can be used for navigating the audience through the conversation in a neat interactive manner. Web URL buttons can send the audience to an external website or page or app. This feature can help to build credibility to the chat conversation, while maintaining the chat session. This can also be used to qualify the lead or convert a sale, when used in the last step in the conversation, which we call end of conversation. Let's create postback buttons to help make the conversation interactive. A scrollable carousel of product images can have a postback button that will look like this. Clicking on No More under the first product image will be equivalent to the audience selecting option A, which is Scepter 360. Clicking on No More under the second image will be the same as the audience selecting option B, which is Triumph Laptops Trolley. Within the multimedia docket or master for the dialog that goes like Demo Store is a one-stop shop, we've already created the payloads for each of the product option. We've configured the image URL, title, subtitle, etc. Now, click on the Load Multimedia Payload item buttons, and go to Step 10. Select the value for button type, as Postback. Provide a value for the button title. Also, enter the value that needs to be posted back to the chat server when the audience clicks this button. Since this product option is option A of the selected dialog, Demo Store is a one-stop shop, we enter the value A. For buttons under the payloads of other choices, we enter B, C, D, and so on. You can also have more than one button displayed under this payload image. You can configure the order of display of these buttons by giving the appropriate number in the field called Button Display Order. Now, save the record. We'll repeat this process for the second payload by selecting Triumph Laptops Trolley in Step 9. In Step 10, we create the button and enter the value B in the field called Postback Value. That is because the payload Triumph Laptops Trolley is option B for the selected dialog. Now, we do the same for all the remaining payload images, by creating the postback buttons and assigning them the postback value, C, and D. Let's take a look at the multimedia content we've created. There's a scrollable carousel, with a button called No More. And we've got these buttons in place, for all the options. Now, clicking on No More under Richmond's Trolley, will be the same as selecting the fourth option of the dialog. Now, let's take a look at web URL buttons. These buttons take the audience to an external web page or app. It could be shopping cart, or a product page on your website, or customer reviews of your product on Amazon, or just a Google Map location to the nearest store. In Step 10, we create a new payload button. We've already created a postback button called No More. This new button will be set up as a web URL under the field called Button Type. Provide the values for button title and the web URL link. Set the appropriate value for button display order, and save the record. Let's reload the dialog in the chat window. We can see the two buttons displayed under the payload for Scepter 360. No More will take the audience through the chat conversation, with more dialogues under option A, which is Scepter 360. Visit Website will take the audience to the website URL mapped to this web URL button, in a new window, thereby maintaining the chat session. Now, let's go back to creating a multimedia docket for a different dialog. We'll set up a multimedia card that holds a single image or video. In this case, we'll create a video payload. Let's pick a dialog. There's a fifth choice for the first dialog, called More Options. This takes the flow to the second row in the workflow sheet, as defined by the step number configured against More Options. This video card would be a better fitment for the fourth row, which will be fired up when Scepter 360 is selected, as a response to the first dialog. Especially if the video showcases Scepter 360 and demonstrates the product features. For simplicity, we're proceeding with the dialog in the second row. Go back to Step 7, and select the second dialog or the workflow step, and click the Load Multimedia button. In Step 8, we create the multimedia docket or master record. Select Template as the attachment type. As for template type, select Media, a single media card of an image or a video. Now, save the record and click the Load Multimedia Payload button. In Step 9, we create a payload. Notice the difference in the payload record fields. Provide a title for the payload, and select the value, video, for the field, media type. The media URL holds the link to your video. When it comes to Facebook, you need to have uploaded these videos already on your Facebook business page. We can map only videos available on your Facebook page. A simple YouTube video URL will not work for chats on platforms like Facebook page, Messenger, or Instagram. For Facebook page chat automation, we let the right-hand men account list all the videos on your business Facebook page, and pick a video. Click Find Video under the Facebook Media URL field. Select the video, and copy the video link to clipboard. Now, close this window and click Use Video Link button to paste the video link in the Facebook URL field. For all other channels like your website's chat module, Twitter, Telegram, etc., we use a YouTube video URL in the Media URL field. Now, save the record. Let's see how the video card loads up. First, we select More Options as the response to the first dialog. This will fire up the dialog in the second row. We can now see the configured video card, loaded along with the second dialog text. Clicking on the play button, shows up the video controls. We can also add a few call to action buttons and make the video card look like this. Now, let's create a multimedia docket that holds just call to action buttons. In some dialogues, we may not need to show any image or video. For example, if the dialog's type is end of conversation, we may just want the audience to follow through by completing the purchase. For this, we may simply need a button that will take them to the shopping cart. Also, before purchase, they may want to check out the product reviews, or maybe visit a nearby store. In that case, buttons that take them to the customer reviews page on Amazon, or a Google Map directions to the nearest store, would be a good option. These dialogues do not need any more product images or videos to convince the lead about the product choice. It's all about sale conversion now. Web URL buttons are perfect for this scenario. So, in step 7, let's select a dialogue that's the end of conversation. We select option A from the first dialogue and land up on dialogue 4. We again select option A, which is quick overview. This takes us to dialogue 5. Dialogue 5 shows an overview and has options to choose from. We select the option Buy Now. This takes us to dialogue 8, which is the end of conversation. Let's create some buttons for this dialogue to help with the conversion of sale. Select the 8th dialogue in step 7 and load the multimedia. We'll create a multimedia docket now in step 8. Select template as the attachment type and set the template type as button, one or more call to action buttons. Save the record and load the multimedia payload for this record. In step 9, notice the difference in the fields. We provide a title or description text to be shown with the list of buttons. Save the payload record and load the multimedia payload item buttons. In step 10, we create buttons of type web URL and provide a title for the button along with the URL destination. This URL can take the audience to a shopping cart, a customer review page, or just a Google Map directions. Create as many buttons as you want to help the audience get access to information they'll need before proceeding to purchase your product. Now, let's see how the buttons show up in the chat conversations. Let's also see how these look like on the Messenger platform, accessed from a mobile device. For any queries, you can email support@4byoff.com. That's support@forbyof.com.